Welcome to another episode of Z's Corner. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the past couple weeks have been filled with some unpleasant business, especially if you're a black fan and you watch Spanish football, cause racism. See, I like to think of football as a beautiful game because for the 90 minutes that you're watching your team play, even if they're losing, it affords you an escape from life's unpleasant realities, of which racism is definitely a part. But if you're a black player, like Vinicius Jr., like the Williams brothers in Spain on any given match day weekend, you can be subjected to monkey chants, have bananas thrown at you. Heck, they even hung an effigy of Vinicius off of a bridge in Spain. That is unacceptable. We're in 2023, guys. But I think players like Vinicius Jr., high-profile black athletes across sports, are afforded a certain level of social protection by virtue of who they are and how skilled they are at what they do. People value them for what they do for their teams. They help them win. But there's a subsection of fans who think that those players should only be valuable on the field of play. Off the field of play, they are definitely considered an other. The Williams brothers would tell you that racism is not a new problem in Spanish football. They've been subjected to it, and they're Spanish citizens. But they don't play for teams as high profile as Real Madrid, and they certainly don't have the panache, the presence of a Vinicius Jr. They're not as high profile as he is, so it's gone unnoticed and perhaps ignored in some instances. But fans are a reflection of the society in which they live. So racism is a global problem, not just a football problem, and certainly not just a Spanish football problem. But I've been to Spain, guys. They got problems. So how do we fix it? Personally, I think history has shown that change only happens when a critical mass of people decide that something is a problem and they actively work to fix it. So players, administrators, sponsors. What can players do? Players like Vinny can decide to ply their trade in another league, in another country, in a place perhaps where fans may think like certain Spanish fans think, but they certainly do not think it's okay or would be acceptable, socially acceptable, for them to say or do what certain Spanish fans do. It'd be hard to imagine an effigy of a player being hung from a bridge in the US or the UK for England and it not causing some level of discomfort and uproar. Or for you to even think twice, like, why would you even do this and think that you would get away with it, right? But in Spain, they did that. Not cool, not cute. Administrators. They need to make rules and enforce rules, but the rules need to make sense. But administrators also need to confront their own inherent biases. Because personally, I wouldn't want the VAR referees who only saw it fit to share half of the incident that led to Vinicius' sending off. I don't want those people making rules that affect people that look like me. Because clearly, they thought it was okay for some player to put Vinny in a headlock for 8 seconds on the field of play. I thought violent conduct was disallowed. But you let a guy put Vinny in a headlock for 8 seconds and nothing happened to him. You didn't see anything wrong with that. I have a problem with administrators like that making rules. But I honestly think that change is only going to happen when sponsors start throwing their weight around. The biggest brands in the world make millions of dollars every year from the beautiful game. It's not enough to run ad campaigns with cute slogans. It's been done before, and it really hasn't moved the needle, because guess what, guys? There's still hanging effigies of players off bridges. So, in my personal opinion, until those brands start saying to organizations and people that I don't want my reputation involved in your unpleasant business, and start inserting clauses and making certain statements that would stop or indicate that, wait, the gravy train might stop if I don't do something about this. Until that happens, I don't see the problem changing or the needle moving very far in the direction towards these incidents not happening. Until then, it's only just a matter of time. But for individuals, what can we do? I think we have a responsibility to read as much as we can, travel where possible, and certainly try to learn about different cultures and understand the nuances that go along. Football is a sport that has transcended the world, and I feel for certain nations, they have a certain brand of football. Brazil is certainly one of those places. They play football with a joie de vivre. It's part of the reason why so many people around the world love Brazilian football, including myself. It is not okay for you to think that because Vinny plays with a very flamboyant way, that it's okay for somebody to say disgusting things, degrading things to him, to call him a monkey, to chant at him, and that's the reason why he attracts all this attention on and off the field of play. The reality is, have you seen Brazilian football? This is art. This is joy. This is love. This is the way they play the game. If you have a problem with that, you need to check yourself. Something's wrong with you, boo. Go check yourself. But at the end of the day, what all of us can do is to do as my father once told me, and to see God in every face and not race. Until next time, and the next episode of Z's Corner, thank you so much for listening.